Starting my recording now. Gonna read an email. Gonna read an email. Is that a good... That's about a Corbin tier open, right? That's also a Corbin tier open. $40 patron, please read a story by Visick. Hey brewery crew, just picked up a bunch of Deadly Tempest. Since this card went up to $5 at its peak before a double whammy reprint in 2020, would it be unreasonable to think that this card might go back up to $1 in the future? My reasoning is that since mystery boosters are in no high supply in the wild, plus the fact that many people just keep these commander decks as out of the box, would it be safe to assume that the supply might be a lot less available than what people might believe it to be?
What is the card and what does it do?
Deadly Tempest. It is a 6-mana wrath that says destroy all creatures. Each player loses life equal to the number of creatures destroyed by this card. So if you have 37 Reese the Redeem tokens, you're probably just dying. Additionally, this is one of those wraths that ends games. In most circumstances, you would wipe the board because you're lagging behind, and the life loss should be minimum to non-resistant, and can easily end the game against those annoying token players. By the way, feel free to use this as a pick. God knows Corbin could use it. With the amount of dairy he's eaten throughout this show, I'm surprised he can even sit through a podcast without running to the bathroom halfway through.
He doesn't run halfway through. He runs the second the episode ends.
Yes. Sometimes he's already pooping while we're finishing the cast. It's kind of disturbing.
JJ, you gotta cut some of that.
Why? JJ?
Please.
JJ's not somebody to censor the truth.
Overrules.
Except if it contains secrets, then he'll censor the shit out of that truth.
Please. All right. Respond how I'm gonna respond to that then.
P.S. You guys spell curtains call wrong. Because Corbin doesn't know how to use apostrophes.
Well, I'll tell you what. We read that email to start the podcast because that email came to us from a $40 patron, and this is what we do for our patrons because we appreciate them so much. So, Deadly Tempest, 6-mana wrath from Commander 2015, and then the reprints. What do you guys think?
I think a double whammy reprint is... Like, if it goes to $1, then what are you trying to get out of it for? Are you trying to buy list it? Like, I don't know, fam. It's like $1 right now on TCG Player.
I mean, if you get in at, like... So the biggest thing with these kinds of cards is you need to be able to buy in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
So the corollary for this for me is Exotic Orchard. Exotic Orchard is a land from sea... It's originally from, like, Conflux, I think?
It was Conflux.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then it got reprinted 80,000 times, and it's like a quarter now. It had a history of just going back to $1.50, then back to a quarter, $1.50 a quarter, and then it got hit with like 6 more reprints. Long story short, I have like 1,300 of them, and it's just a card that I picked up in bulk. I picked up over 1,000 from one seller. At a quarter, I think I paid 19 cents a piece on average. If it ever goes to 45 cents buy list, I will ship all of them and make a few $100. So the thing with that is that you need to be able to get those kinds of quantity en masse. One of the best ways to do that is on card
And your out needs to be a buy list, because if it goes to $1 retail, like, what are you realistically getting out of it?
Yeah, the only way
you get bit with shipping to the buy list, and when you get bit with fees on the buying, if you're trying to buy in at bulk and sell at $1, you're not going to make any money at all.
I mean, you can do that if you have like a larger operation. Like TCG Direct is a really good way to sell out of thousands of cards.
Right.
Like, if you're the one person on Direct with, like, Deadly Tempest at 89 cents, then you get like 45 cents a piece on every copy, and that's fine. But yeah, like, it's buy list, or you have to have, like, a larger scale operation that allows you to just ship out, like, 45 of them at a time to a third-party exchange platform like Amazon or TCG. But, so the short story for stuff like that, I don't hate the card in terms of, like, this could be $1 again if it gets avoids a reprint, but you really need to be able to buy and sell that card in bulk in order to just, like, eliminate the amount of shipping and fees you have to deal with.
Also, I'm going to be honest, I don't know that I love the card that much, because the card's great, it definitely has upside, but a similar card I would point to is something like Life's Finale, another 6-mana wrath with the conditional... not conditional, but with a small upside to it. In that case, you could search creatures out of your opponent's decks. Well, that card's $250. And that's where I would say basically that this Wrath would be as well. but for the reprints. So what it does tell me that
Decree of Pain also, like if you're paying 6 mana for a Wrath, you have a lot of options. Like we always talk about, like, hey, something like whatever that uncounterable blue-white Wrath is, like stuff that's the
Supreme
best.
Verdict.
Yeah, stuff that's the best Wrath. That's got a lot of upside because like it's the best Wrath, and that's what people are going to go to. There's no de facto best Wrath, because if you're paying Plague Wind mana, all of a sudden you're like, well, I could be playing in Garruk's Wake and destroying Planeswalkers too.
And now there's Ruinous Ultimatum, I believe it is, the new Mardu Ultimatum. That's destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control.
Yep. So you got a lot of options if you're paying above 4 mana for a Wrath, and this isn't the best one.
Sure.
So when you have a lot of cards fighting for that one deck slot, it's tough.
Yeah, it's just, I think, look, obviously the goal here is pretty low. The goal, you're only trying to get it to $1, so that's fine. But yeah, I mean, this is
right. Like
it's just one of those where you just kind of have to.
Again, but if you're like, I can find 1,000 of these for a quarter, and then like flip them a year and a half later for like 89 cents a piece, I'm like, yeah, that I don't hate that.
Yeah, but for that you need this card to go up to like $1.50. I don't know. It just seems like this card's going to really take a while, based on the fact that there are so many other options available around that mana cost, like Jason said. So I don't know. I'm not, all I'm saying is I don't think I would go deep on it based on the things we've talked about.
There were those options last year when this card crept to $4 though. Like those options existed.
It's cheap, but there's a lot of work to hopefully get something out of it in the end, and maybe there's better places to put your money right now.
Maybe.
So that's kind of my suggestion on that one. Is I just don't love that card, but it is good. Well, we always love having emails. If you want to send yours in, brainstormbrew@gmail.com. We will read our $40 Patreon emails, that's for sure. All of our Patreon emails, as a matter of fact. But if you're a $40 patron, you get it right at the top of the cast. So keep those emails coming. Other than that, welcome in, everybody. There's a lot going on this week, from new standard, new historic, all these things we talked about starting to play out, as well as double masters hitting the scene. So we're gonna dive into all of that. But first, it's time for our budget segment every week, Sudden Substitution. We take the price of an expensive EDH card and give you some budget options. So this week, we're going to look at probably the most powerful land in Commander. I think you could safely say. Yeah, Cabal Coffers, obviously, alongside Urborg. And the beauty of it is, if you draw your Coffers, somebody at the table might have an Urborg for you. Makes a lot of mana. Of course, it's also very pricey. So with that in mind, we're going to come up with some budget alternatives here. So DJ, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
So Cabal Coffers is something I play in Galanti, and basically I think all of these cards that we're going to talk about I play in Galanti, but one of my favorites is Nirkana Revenant. This is another card that scales off your swamps. It is a 6-mana 4/4 from Rise of the Eldrazi. It was reprinted in Battle Bond. It went down super, super low to like $2 or $3, and then it bounced back to 10, but it's still a small fraction of Cabal Coffers' price. It just lets all your swamps tap for an additional black, and you can sometimes power it up. I think people forget about that. They'll let it through, and then you pump it to 26 and crack them in the head. But Nirkana Revenant is $10. I don't think that this card is I don't think it's a bad time to buy this card. I'll just put it that way. It can still.
Well, the card used to be very expensive before the.
Oh yeah, it was like $25 before the Battle Bond, and it got crushed. But Nirkana Revenant is a very solid budget option for Cabal Coffers.
Absolutely, and people jam it in decks with sort of its smaller cousin Cryptgas all the time. Does the same thing with doubling of your swamps. So
yep.
The thing is, most of these black decks are going to have all of the above, and that's where you want to get. And Cabal Coffers will be the top of this list.
It's got an Urborg. Yeah. Like when you get an Urborg out, like all of a sudden all your plains and mountains are getting doubled by Cryptcast also. So
yeah, that's right.
If you run Coffers, you're running Urborg for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jason, what would you point to this week?
Mine's a little bit more expensive than DJ's double whammy pick of Cryptcast and whatever his other card was.
Nirkana Revenant.
I got like a $20 card, which is what Cabal Coffers was a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's not 70 like Coffers.
I think this card's a little awkward to reprint, so I kind of think even if you buy it at its current price, you're not going to get completely blown out even by a reprint. I like about $20 for Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. This is a card that doesn't count your swamps, but it does count your black pips. And black's a color that is like, you got your Necropotence, you got your Phyrexian Arena, you got your Crypt Ghast, you start counting all your black pips up, and all of a sudden, hey, I've got about 7 black pips, so I'm paying 2, tapping Nykthos.
Pips being colored mana symbols.
Right. You're paying 2, you're tapping the Nykthos, all of a sudden you're netting like 4 or 5 mana. So, it really can help you accelerate if you're keeping permanents in play. And, it's not quite Cabal Coffers, but at the same time, it's a little easier to play something like Necropotence. That's 1 permanent that counts for 3 for Nykthos versus 1 swamp only counting for 1 for Cabal Coffers. And the great thing about Nykthos is it doesn't need to go in a black deck. You can do it in any color. So all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 green creatures and enchantments, and you're netting mana in all of those different colors. So I think Nykthos is a little bit it's a little bit more versatile. It doesn't really have that huge bump that that Cabal Coffers gets from Urborg, but at the same time, all your permanents that you're managing to keep in play in any color. So this could like power white and red and other colors that don't really ramp that well. I think Nykthos it's much more versatile, and that's why it's managed to to be a $20 card right now.
That's right. I'll want to finish it off with sort of the throwback to Cabal Coffers. Cabal Stronghold out of Dominaria. Now, when it came out, everyone learned very quickly that this was not Cabal Coffers. It's a land taps to add a generic 3 and a tap, add black for each basic swamp you control. Does not work with Urborg. So everyone kind of poo-pooed this card.
It can work with Urborg. If your Urborg turns your basic plains into basic swamps,
well, there you go.
Then they will.
you can find that way to go with it as well. But the great thing about Cabal Stronghold is how kind of underappreciated it went. Everyone was like, "Yeah, this is such a bad Cabal Coffers," without stopping to think that it's a bad Cabal Coffers, but it doesn't matter because Cabal Coffers is really good, and a really bad Cabal Coffers can still be a really good card. And Cabal Stronghold clocking in just under $4 is another great budget option there for your Cabal Coffers. So, all right, so moving right along, let's talk about Double Masters. So, based on how M21 came out, and based on I guess it was Jumpstart maybe before that. Honestly, hard to keep up with all of them. But we had originally posited that Double Masters would not necessarily make cards drop a ton. Instead, coming out of the gates, we see a complete race to the bottom here. So what do you think explains kind of what we're seeing here, DJ?
I think a lot of it is just people looking to recoup their initial investment because the buy-in was so high. So, like, I think there's a lot of stores who are like, I can put X $1,000 towards this set, right? And then that X nets you a smaller number of physical products than it would in another set. So they can put 10,000 towards M21, and that's X number of boxes. But that same amount of money nets you a smaller amount of boxes, which means that you want to recoup that faster by selling the individual cards.
Yeah.
Or if you're just a store that normally goes like, oh, I'll buy 10 boxes of Core Set 21, and you buy 10 boxes of Double Masters, that's a significantly higher money investment, especially if you're branching off into the VIP packs and the VIP boxes and all that. So I think both players and stores are just looking to immediately get money back from what they spent. And we saw that with other Master sets too in the past, like Masters 25, Iconic Masters. We saw cards just crater right out of the gate because there's people going like, oh, I spent $60 on this, I need to get some of that money back. And I don't think that lasts long either. I think that these are short-term opportunities to buy in.
Already starting to see
a lot of money
bouncing back
by just buying at the right time with the set.
Yeah, I mean, we're already starting to see a bunch of cards bounce back a little bit. So I think you're right, and then maybe that's something that I don't know that we considered, and it may have just simply been the fact that buying M21 for the stores that did that is kind of part of the normal flow of business, whatever, just didn't impact that much. But you start talking about something like this that costs so much, and all these stores just wanted to get their money back. If you consider the pandemic, and in general, we kind of, the pandemic's made cards go up. But in this particular case, where you have a bunch of stores selling on TCG Player, the fact that this cost so much money up front, they needed to get that money back. And in many cases, they were willing to accept, 10, 15% less on a card just because they wanted to get their money turned around in a month. Cash is obviously tight right now with everything going on. So I think that's probably, we talked about how 2020 is an experiment, right? It's an experiment in seeing what happens to this market. And it's maybe not an experiment we wanted, but we are getting it. And I think what we're seeing in Double Masters is sort of a reflection of that high upfront cost, the ability to not just float money as well as they could in the past, had swords just racing to the bottom. But now it feels like we're already starting to see the pickup. A bunch of cards up in the past couple of days. We're recording this on August 10th. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. But I think we may have already hit the bottom on some of this stuff. All right. So looking at the singles out of Double Masters, though, what do we think? I mean, we've seen a lot of them drop. Do you have any of the cards that you really like the price point where they're at right now?
Number one, stop using price point like that. Number two,
continue.
There's a lot of cards I like in this set. I think you really need to look back at some of the trends from old Master sets, especially if you're newer to the game, right? Like, if you've joined Magic in the past couple years and you're like, what's a Master set? Why did they start doing them and stop doing them and start doing them and stop doing So, there's cards that are staples and will rebound. Like, Force of Will is obviously not something, even if it hits a brief low on TCG or MKM, you'll see that one rebound. You'll see stuff like the Swords rebound. You'll see Doubling Season rebound. Yeah. And then there's cards that just get cratered and stay down there for longer.
Because their price wasn't predicated on their playability. It was predicated on their scarcity. So you have two excellent cases right now at Mythic and Double Masters. There's Doubling Season, whose price is 100% predicated on its playability. Because it's gotten multiple reprints since it was printed in Ravnica. And it keeps going back up because everyone needs Doubling Season for their... This has now
been in 4 different sets. Full runs. Ravnica, Modern Masters, Double Masters, and Battle Bond.
Sure. Now compare that to something like Imperial Recruiter that was expensive because Legacy's like, hey, we need Imperial Recruiter. What is it in? Portal 3 Kingdoms. A set that was only available at Toys R Us. Nobody had it.
Here's my $1,000 for a playset, good sir.
Yeah. Yep. And that price was predicated on scarcity rather than playability. Because not a ton of people were playing that on Legacy, but enough that it was we have very few copies. So anytime you have something that's like P3K or some weird set like that just didn't get bought a ton, anytime that gets a reprinting, people are like, oh, well, that was a $250 card. Surely it'll go back up. And it just sort of never does because the supply from the new set quickly outstrips the limited demand, know.
Yep, absolutely. One of the things I find interesting about the set is how just crazy cheap some cards have gotten to me. And I don't even know that this price is wrong, but seeing Maelstrom Pulse at $1.50, it's just wild to me. I remember for so long that card being at least $10 now.
Caffrey posted a poll recently. It was all 3 of these cards are below $3, which is the most surprising to you. It was Death Shadow, Engineered Explosives, and Maelstrom Pulse, I think.
I'm not surprised at Death Shadow because it's got multiple reprints and who's playing Modern right now?
But Death Shadow was always that was always a European arbitrage card because it was super popular overseas. So regardless of how bad that deck performed in the US, you could always flip it to Europe for 20%. So even when TCG on Death Shadow was $7 or $8, and it was nobody plays this deck in the US, it's tier 4, you could always get $8 from it from Europe. So that's a weird one for me. Seeing that at 3 is wild.
Interesting. Yeah, no kidding. It's and like I said, I don't even know if it's wrong, but here's some more. Thespian Stage, $1. $1 on Thespian Stage. That's a card
that makes sense because Thespian Stage has gotten reprinted before and will get reprinted again.
It has been reprinted a bunch. I mean, but all those other versions were at least $250.
Mesmeric Orb was a card that finally got reprinted.
Which one?
Mesmeric Orb was a card that was $20 that nobody knew was $20 because nobody knew it existed.
Because the people that wanted it wanted 4, they didn't care how much they had to pay, and then everyone else is I'm not playing that bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you another card that I think is at a really attractive price in Double Masters. It's Phyrexian Metamorph. Now, it was just a mystery boosters, but the new Phyrexia version of this card was $7 before, and it's getting hit with the double whammy of reprints here. That said, Phyrexian Metamorph, I'd have to look on EDH Trek, I guess, to see how much of a staple it is, but it feels a little bit like a Commander staple type card to me. And I feel like $250 for a Double Masters Metamorph just has to be a great price right now. And it's trending down, so it's probably going to get even cheaper. You have $2 Metamorphs a couple weeks from now. That seems to me like a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
one of my.
It's interesting how Double Masters is played out. That's for sure.
One of my favorite ones I'm saving for my pick of the week, but another one that's not my pick of the week specifically is Skithrix the Blade Dragon. I don't know if people realize this card's price before Double Masters, but it was approaching $50.
Yeah.
And this is just a card that, like, it was from Scars of Mirrodin. It says Legendary Super Skeleton Evil Blight Dragon on it, and everyone just gets a little hard. They're like, this is Zombie Super Infect Poison Death Dragon. Like, this card is the cover of a band that, like, somebody got laid for the first time in the 80s. Like, this card is everything like a casual Magic player wants ever. And it's just, it was $50. It's kind of like...
Skithrix is a heck of a card.
Yeah, and I mean, it's $20 now. And this is a card where...
This is a card where a dude in a cape will sell you 4 foil copies of these with, like, the rest of his deck.
Yes.
At a Taco Bell parking lot, and then he'll put on an apron and get behind the counter.
I don't even know. I don't even know how to trade. How about you transition us out of that one, Jason?
Well, if you go to edhrec.com and click on go to the top where there's like articles, cards, commanders, sets, themes, recs, all those drop-down menus, click sets. Select Double Masters. It will rank all of the cards in the set Double Masters on the basis of the percentage of eligible decks they're in. Not the raw number of decks, but the percentage of decks that play that color.
That's cool.
So, what you have is Cyclonic Rift number 1. No surprises there. Brainstorm, Lightning Greaves, Path to Exile, Merciless Eviction. That's the top 5. No surprises there. But if you look at the stuff, how it's ranked, and like, well, Blasphemous Act is played in a full 22% of all red decks. That's pretty good. So do we think Blasphemous Act could rebound from being like $2-3? I really think it could, despite Blasphemous Act getting multiple reprintings. The farther you go down on the list, the less your this can rebound from this confidence goes. So, Cyclonic Rift, probably going to rebound. Merciless Eviction, Blasphemous Act, Avenger of Zendikar, probably going to rebound. But if you scroll way down to something like Thragtusk, I don't know. It's in 2% of the 203,000 green containing decks made in the last couple of years.
You also have to factor in you also have to factor in supply and other reprints to this too, right? Because like Noble Hierarch is a card where we're used to be like, oh yeah, it just got a reprint. It'll be fine. But like that card's been reprinted a lot. Like there's a limited amount of hit points a card has, and when they get to 0, like the card's just not it doesn't come back anymore after that.
You have to be in like the top 10 cards in that color of all time to shrug off reprints. So everyone's like, Turtle Witness shrugs off reprints. Why can't Noble Hierarch? Well, Noble Hierarch is a modern card. No one's playing modern right now, but everybody who builds a green deck is like, yeah, I either consider Eternal Witness or I just straight up play it.
What's up with the 57% of players who don't play Cyclonic Rift in their blue deck?
Well, you just don't always
budget.
Can't afford it.
Yeah, probably.
See, there's a concept I call discovered demand, where if a card is $40, it's not in a lot of decks, and then all of a sudden when it goes to 10, it becomes an option for people. The demand for the card, all of a sudden, it becomes a possibility for people. So all of a sudden, it jumps way up, and it has nothing to do with its playability and everything to do with its availability. So sometimes Wizards, they're like, oh, we want card availability, and that sounds like a euphemism for bringing the price down. But sometimes it's sort of like, we just want to get those cards in the hands of people. They're going to buy a $3 or a $7 or an $11 booster pack, and then they're going to get that card they want, and they're going to be happy, and it goes in their deck. But the price doesn't really go down that much just because every copy that hit the market was immediately vacuumed up by a demand that we didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. That's
so Cyclonic Rift as a card is like, it's in 40% of blue decks just because, like, not everybody who registered a blue deck in the last 2 years could even afford a $40 Cyc Rift. But if it hits 15, all of a sudden, 15's a third of what it was. Super reasonable, super happening. Goes right in the deck.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. And We use a lot of data from EDH It's site Jason manages and has a lot to tell us about what's going to happen financially with cards. That's for sure.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
We think, all right, well, there you go, everybody. It's time for Breaking Bulk. That was truly an incredible intro to the segment, Jason.
I'm not done bearing my soul. But, you know, that's fine. I will instead of bearing my soul, I will bear my pick.
All right, let's hear it.
Because I have a card that has been printed exactly one time in New Phyrexia, and it is an uncommon creature.
New Phyrexia uncommon creature.
What color?
Well, telling you the color would give it away.
What?
I don't think that's true. There's a
Give
lot
us
of there's
the
a lot
color.
of crap in that.
It's blue.
A blue
Viral
uncommon.
Drake.
See, I told you.
I mean, Viral Drake is pretty good.
You scoffed when I said giving you the color would give it away, and I told you the color and a pico.
It is true. I don't know.
later,
I'm trying to think what else is in that set.
Yeah, but there's nothing.
Dark-
I told you.
There's the X.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like the other Exarchs, right? There's
Deceiver Exarch is actually not even
Yeah,
always
Deceiver
a pick.
Exarch has multiple prings. You have to go with like the.
It's not always a pick. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's like Suture Priest. There's
Suture Priest is white, I believe you'll find.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like if you didn't give the color, I'm saying
Yeah,
like
you didn't want to give us a color.
Oh,
But it is true that
but
giving
then-
us the
then
color-
You get to artifact.
No, it is
priest
true
and
that
shit.
giving us the color pretty much gave it away.
Yep.
I have one that I actually kind of think you guys won't get. It's a bit of a DJ pick, but it is a pick. A Battle Bond multicolored creature uncommon.
Is it that Jester, Demon Jester?
No.
I'm trying to think if there's multicolored tokens in Battle Bond. I don't think there's multicolored tokens in Battle Bond.
It's not a token.
Okay.
It's not a token.
Multicolored
Is it a
uncommon creature.
It's a creature.
He said
It's
creature.
an uncommon creature. Multicolored.
There's a
Gold.
cycle of Signpost limited uncommons.
But yeah, there's like the Luvian, the black blue thing that makes them discard. There's like the Sphinx.
There's the red black like gambling warrior lady, like Azra Oddsmaker or something
There's
like
a
that.
green white dragon and like a red green like rock fist punch face guy.
Would you all like to make any of those your guesses or
No, those are all our guesses.
DJ, were those all your guesses?
What's the red black one? All your shit has haste, or certain creatures have haste.
That's what I was talking about. That's why I said the red black gamble lady. Give me like 5 seconds.
Okay, that's called Rushblade Commander, I think, or something like
It's
that.
I thought it was Azra Oddsmaker, but I could be wrong.
No,
You're just naming cards though. Are any of them your pick?
the dragon, the green.
It's not a
red
dragon.
Savage Ventmaw. That's not it.
No. I feel like DJ's on the right track here.
There's the black blue one's not an odds maker.
I mean, I'm
That's
not
the
gonna
vampire.
get it in the next like 10 seconds or so.
All right, it's Azra Oddsmaker.
okay.
Is that your
No,
pick?
the
Is
red-
that your pick? Is that your pick? No, it's Azra Oddsmaker.
What
At the
colors
beginning of
is it?
combat on your turn, you may discard a card. If you do, choose a creature. When another creature does combat damage to a player this turn, you draw 2. It's a 3/3 for 3. It's 60 cents
What color is
right
it?
now.
It's red black.
It's red black.
I thought
Yeah,
the red
it's-
black one was a 2/2 for 2.
Don't know. I didn't play any
There
other
might
set.
also be another one of those. I just know
Oh, there's
yeah.
there's one.
I don't know
one
anything
cycle.
about Battle Bond. I just know that Azra Oddsmaker is up to 60 cents and is on buy lists for a nickel to a dime. So, it's come up to that over the past year or so. It, was a quarter a year ago. So, it may be nothing. May just be some fluctuations
No,
and
you
get it
know
on the
why,
buy list, but it also may be $1 before too long. So Azra Oddsmaker. Jason, what do you got?
Should I go again?
DJ, sorry.
I have an uncommon new Phyrexia blue.
I have a card from the band set, but we're gonna break it out once in a while because
All right, let's hear it.
Blue common Lorwyn creature.
Is it no
Spell
that's-
Stutter Sprite.
No.
Is it a
Spell
merfolk?
Stutter Sprite's a good guess.
Yes.
Spell Stutter Sprite.
It is a merfolk.
So it's either Paper Fin Rascal or the one that gives -X/-0 to the merfolk you control, or it's
Silvergill Dowser?
Nope.
I believe that's what you're referring to.
Yeah. Or they're
Summon the School? That might be an
That's not a creature,
white.
and it's also white, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
So,
I
Merfolk
don't...
Expert Corbin Hostler.
Is it a changeling?
It is a changeling.
No, the Moth
Dust.
That was not Lorwyn. That was Morningtide.
It is Amoeboid changeling.
Amoeboid changeling.
Oh,
okay.
so when I said it was a merfolk, you
technically
said it was a merfolk.
Get out of here.
I really hope bad things happen.
I hope you slip on a banana peel tomorrow and like sprain your knee.
And then you go to the doctor, you're like, I slipped out a banana peel, and they're like, get the f- out of here. This guy just wants Vicodin. He's lying. And then they don't treat you.
DJ just wants to parkour, but he
like,
can't
no, I
because he
slipped
slipped
out
on
a
a
banana peel. And they're
peel.
like, I'm writing drug-seeking behavior in your file, so nobody down will treat you.
It is a 2-mana 1/1 creature shapeshifter changeling. Tap target creature gains all creature types, or tap target creature loses all creature types. This little thing goes in a lot of different tribal decks. It could go in my rogue deck if I wanted it to, but I don't play it in there. But a lot of people do.
Why don't you play in there, DJ?
Just it doesn't have 2 power. If it had
It's a
1/1
for 2 and no one cares. Good call.
It is worth a little bit of money because it's a changeling, though. I mean, I just did a nickel buy list here. I'm not gonna give DJ crap for this one.
I mean, TCG's 70-ish cents, and that's what I list it for. So when I sell it on direct, I net like 35 cents.
Yeah.
It goes in Mistform Ultimatus, Sliver decks, because you can make things Sliver and then steal it with Sliver Overlord. Reaper King, it's a Scarecrow, it's in a Tog. It goes in Morphon, so whatever Morphon chooses to be at the time, it goes in that. Yuriko, it's a Ninja. Yeah.
I mean, I guess those are... Yeah, I mean, it seems like it would work in Yuriko pretty well.
I mean, like, just making other things changeling is relevant, too. Just because you... Oh, my Invisible Stalker's a ninja now. Get him. Like...
Sure. I mean, have you ever... Any of y'all ever played with or against Yuriko?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'd be terrified. I would be
fun.
terrified. Yeah, of an Amoeboid changeling out of that deck. Terrified to have anything out of that deck. I don't understand how that card got printed.
That's another card that, like, was $15 on the basis that we could ship all of them to Japan because every Japanese player wanted a Yuriko, and then it got reprinted 18 times.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand how it ever got printed in the first place. Well, like, the card is insane.
Okay, so
it's just so unfun.
I have a story, right? We were just sitting eating dinner, right?
Uh-huh.
And then Liliana looked at me, she said, hey, Dad. And I laughed. Because farts, I don't know if you know this, farts are funny.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree.
And she made me laugh, and she was like, oh shit, I solved the key to making adults laugh. So every time we sat at the dinner table, she went, hey, Dad! Like 40 times. And I was like, it kind of wasn't funny the third time. And that's Wizards' reprint policy. They made a fart noise, we all laughed, and they're like, oh shit, you want Eurikos? Well... I'm going to print Eurikos the way a 4-year-old makes fart noises. Until you're sick of it. I'm not going to stop until past the point where you don't want any more.
Wasn't it only in Mystery Boosters? Come on.
It was in, I think it was in Commander 18, too. It was in the,
Yeah, where it was originally printed.
That's a reprint policy for everything. You're like, oh,
it was
Black
a Judge promo.
Black Market's about to be $20. We can't let Black Market hit $20. We're going to give it 20 reprints that are all $1, so they add up to $20.
I agree.
But yeah, it was a Judge promo, funny. And then it was in Mystery Boosters.
Yeah, Eureka's. They say they have people.
Done? You think they're done? They're not done.
I just want to know if anyone ever play tested Eureka. That's all.
That card is very good.
No kidding.
But the thing is good.
Or...
Like remove good or not from the equation. Eureka is just you can't interact with the card.
What do you mean you can't interact with the card? It doesn't have eminence, Corbin.
Yeah, you can't. But like it's always going to be 2 mana. It takes any one creature getting through, and they just play a bunch of 1-drop unblockable stuff. Like, and it's always going to cost 2 mana to get the Yuriko, and you can't ever stop them. Like, it's just stupid. It's just bad design. I thought they learned their lesson with Derevi, when they gave Derevi a way to come into play from the command zone for the same cost every time. But clearly they did not, because Yuriko is a nightmare. Anyways, that's my rant. That's my 3 years bundled up Commander 18
Did they flip a
rant.
Skull Storm off the top? Is that what happened?
Usually they just flip Temporal Masteries off the top, and then they put it back, and then they Miracle, and then you die. I hate Yuriko. Anyways, might have lost that card a time or two. Let's move on to some emails, and I suppose we should read these in chronological order, and that means the first one is coming to us from June 18th of 2014. Hello, everybody. Just finished episode 100. I've been listening for a while, since roughly episode 60. I'd like to see discussion concerning getting into eternal formats for Finance 101. Perhaps a discussion as well as migrating from standard to modern, for example, modern to legacy, etc. Thanks, and good luck, Doug Nelson. Well, Doug, it's June.
Oh, his 1st. Name is Doug Nelson. I thought he was saying good luck to DJ and calling him Doug Nelson.
No. Well, it is June 2014, and I have to say, Doug, I don't know about this legacy thing. I'm not sure people will still be playing that a few years from now. You just play modern instead. Everyone loves modern. I think we'll probably be playing modern forever. In fact,
modern is never.
I think that modern is really a gold standard of Magic. In fact, it's a beautiful format right now where there's so many different decks you can play. There's so many. Like, you can play your pod deck. You can play aggro. You can do whatever you want. It's a deck builder's paradise. I bet there's modern decks we haven't even seen or thought of yet. There's no way people will stop playing that in the future. So you know what, Doug? I think you should quit standard, get into modern. It's going to be a very stable format from here on out.
By eternal formats, he also means tiny leaders, right?
I'm not sure about tiny leaders in 2014. Well, let's actually try to tackle the question.
Tiny Leaders was just a Reddit post back then with 36 upvotes, and
no kidding.
It didn't even make it to its prime time at 50 upvotes.
Well, let's just try to tackle the actual question.
I'm sorry, did you not make a shitload of money on Sunforger? Because I sure did.
Yeah, no kidding. If you are somebody who has gotten into the game and maybe you mostly play standard, you play some on arena, blah blah blah. When we talk about getting into, say, let's say Pioneer or Modern, what's kind of the first place to start? If you're looking at it on how to most efficiently do it from a financial perspective.
Burn?
Do what?
Buy a burn deck?
Buy a burn deck, maybe. I would say this, so I would generally say, and this is especially true in Modern, and it applies to Legacy as well, but you start with the mana base. If you're someone who says, I want to play Pioneer competitively, I want to play Modern competitively, you start with the mana base, because they do get reprinted every couple of years, and if you listen to this podcast regularly, you can kind of play the market on and wait and, kind of get an idea of, well, do I buy it now? Or do I buy it then? But I think that you want to start with the mana base. And right now, I would say that means waiting for fetch lands to get printed sometime in 2020, like they were saying. You can then buy your fetch lands. And now you have the start of anything you're going to need in Modern. Because as we're clearly seeing right now, the trend is for broken new cards to make up those decks. So heck, just sit around, buy your Uros. You might have, well, Uro might get banned, but buy your new cards from 2020 for standard, but buy your Modern mana base. And within a year or two, I'm sure that'll end up turning into a competitive Modern deck. So, but that's my advice, I guess, would be to start with the mana base that you're going to need and buy those in the order that makes sense based on price.
In order to get into the mental zone of a Modern player, like, you know how to train martial arts, they have people like stand under waterfalls for hours at a time?
Sure.
You need to do that, but you also need to have your phone out and just angry tweet about fetch lands the entire time. So you need to like stand under the waterfall and get in that.
Why don't you give us any reprints? We want reprints, and then
that meditative zen state. But just have your eyes closed and just finger mash your phone's keyboard about fetch lands. Just fetch lands, fetch lands, fetch lands. You have to get into that primal rage Hulk state of fetch lands. Like, that's my secret. I'm always mad about fetch lands.
But
Okay.
no matter how many times they reprint cards for every other format, if they don't reprint the 5 cards you want, bitch about how they're not doing reprints.
Okay. This is certainly all viable ideas. All right, the next email comes to us from June of 2014, and this email is just a photo. It's a photo of a $100 bill inside a pack of Magic cards that have been opened. I have to assume that this is in our email because someone complained about it.
No,
Moving on.
They sent that to me because I wanted it. I asked for it. This was 5-6 years ago. Yeah, I asked for it.
That's
because someone put a $100 bill into the pack, so I could be like, I could make the people will complain about how the $100 bill is full of joke on Twitter, and then so Pleasant Kenobi could steal it. I wanted to make that joke so someone could take it.
Okay, good to know. All right, next email comes to us from Elizabeth, sent on June 4th, 2014. Hey guys. I was wondering if you could all discuss what you think about Anger of the Gods. Its price has dropped pretty steadily for a while, but it does see some modern play in Jund, which makes me wonder about its potential in the long term. Personally, I'm hanging on to every copy I managed to get in a draft, but I'm curious what you all think. Sorry if this was discussed back when the set first came out, but I'm a new listener. Well, Elizabeth, the first thing I have to say is that we did discuss this when the set first came out, and if you would like to know what we think about Anger of the Gods, you could go listen to that when we talked about it when the first set came out. Well, I'm sure that was a rather abrupt cut for all of you, but that's because we recorded some after hours there. If you're interested in hearing what we said, you can become a patron at patreon.com/BSB and go listen to them. And if you are becoming a patron in the year 2014, like we're encouraging Elizabeth to, well, years later, after you've given us money, you may begin to receive some perks.
They can go to patreon.com/BSB and give us $20 a month, and they can hear those after hours. And they can also sip a beverage out of these brand new drinking glasses that we just got custom made. You see that iridescent gold on our brand new logo commissioned from Proxy Guy? You can't get that anywhere else. We won't allow it. We'll go to their house. We'll smash their bootleg glasses because that's a power rule. That's something we have to do as the owners of this copyright material.
Of course, yes.
We're the only ones who
use
can
it
give
or
you
lose
these
it.
glasses. Yeah, use it or lose. We are the ones who can give you these glasses. And how handsome are these? I have a basement full of them. My wife would like them out of our house. We're fighting all the time. So what I need to do is I need enough people to go to patreon.com/BSB that I can ship them out of the house so she can put her craft knickknack bullshit down here. It's like, there's no space for my knickknacks. I don't want to have that fight.
Please, listeners, save Jason's marriage.
That's literally how she talks, too. When we met, she's like, my name's Brittany, this is how I talk. And I'm like, that's really endearing because I'm attracted to you physically. So I'm willing to overlook you talking like that. Do you think this will get old as our marriage goes? Absolutely not. I will always enjoy hearing how you talk to me. Whisper sweet nothings in my ear. Can life get better than this? I maintain it cannot. And then, after a while, you're sort of like, your voice is starting to grate on me a little bit. Make room for my knickknacks. All right. So I need... Look, I was delivered literally 8 70-pound boxes, and I had to haul them all down my stairs. And I didn't get in any better shape. So I guess what I'm saying is help me get the shit out of the basement. It wasn't the weight loss regime I was looking for. So I would like to carry all these glasses out individually in a box with your name and address on it. And I will send it to your house, and you can drink out of these glasses while you listen to After Hours and think about my wife's weird voice.
There you go, everybody.
And
I have
if
to
you're
say,
a $20
though, Elizabeth,
patron,
I hope
you
you
heard
did
the wife cast.
I hope you did buy into Anger of the Gods in the middle of 2014, because there were several opportunities to make money on the card. In middle of 2015, it was up to $4. It was up to $5 in 2017. It was $3.50 again in 2019. Now the card is $1. So you had a good instinct, Elizabeth, and I hope if you still listen to this podcast somehow, I'm sorry we didn't read your email back then. You can blame Ryan and or Marcel, either one, whichever, or both. Whichever you prefer, and it's their fault, not mine. Moving on. Pick of the week.
Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
All right, pick of the week. I'll go first. This is an interesting card because it kind of snuck up on me, but Finale of Eternity from War of the Spark is part of that mythic finale cycle. Of course, Finale of whatever the green one is, Devastation, I believe, gets all the headlines, but Finale of Eternity.
What color is Eternity?
And black.
Just tell us the, yeah.
It's X and black. Destroy up to 3 target creatures with toughness X or less. If X is 10 or more, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So
that card,
it's obviously
pretty legitimately nuts.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's significantly worse at the reanimation side of things than, say, Rise of the Dark Realms. That's everyone's creatures that cost 9 mana. But this card has all kinds of flexibility. It serves as removal for a very long time. And then returning all of your cards to the battlefield as a mana sink when your deck has placed Finale of Eternity is probably still going to be pretty good. So the card has climbed from its low of $1.50 at the beginning of the year to about $2 right now. So a little over that, $2.25. So I have to say, Finale of Eternity as a mythic out of that set, I like it a lot. So it's a bit of a long-term play. I mean, I think this will eventually become $5 without a reprint, but it's not going to be happening in 2 weeks. It's probably more like 2 years, but this is definitely the cheapest it'll be for a while.
You can pick up like an NFC foil one probably for cheap.
That's also true from all those uncut sheets that went out.
Okay, so I get my 1 minute tangent about this card.
All right, go for it, buddy.
A very long time ago when I played on Arena and I played Limited, I played a crap ton of War of the Spark. I didn't win much, but one of the few drafts I'd crushed with, I had Finale of Eternity, Finale of Blue One, Nico Bolas, and the Elder Spell, and Jace.
Well,
so I had blue and black finales, Nico Bolas, Jace, and the Elder Spell. And that was quite the fun limited deck.
That seems like it'd probably be an okay deck.
There was one game where my opponent fought through like 18 mythics. They scrapped their way, rough. And they outplayed me a couple times, and they were like, I finally beat the Finale of Eternity, the Jace, the Bolas, the everything, and then I was about to deck out, and so I had like 13 lands, and I was like, wow, this guy just outplayed me. I'm not that good of a Magic player, and so I was gonna play my Finale. It's Finale of Revelations, the blue one. I was gonna play that for like 13 mana and just kill myself. Fun fact: when you play
that, is it target?
What?
Oh, it shuffles, right?
Yeah, I learned that. I learned that day. That instead of decking myself, it just shuffles your deck back and draws you a bunch of cards, and then untaps 5 lands. So I was like, "Oh, cool! Draw 10 cards, untap 5 lands, play Bolas, kill your thing, go."
And you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game.
Yes. So that deck just refused to let me lose, and that was a fun time.
That does sound like a fun one. Sure thing. All right, DJ Jason, which one of you would you like to have a pick of the week next?
I've got a guy named Harry for short. His full name is Herald of Secret Streams.
A merfolk.
Is that maybe that's on me, but I've never heard that card be called Harry.
Neither have I.
It's Harry for short. Herald is the long form of Harry.
Maybe that's because I've never heard anybody actually cast that card, but that's
what.
Yeah, you're right. It's shitty to make creatures unblockable, Mr. I have a rogue deck.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it's creatures you control with +1 counters on them are unblockable. It's a merfolk. Yeah. I didn't know this was worth money, actually.
Yeah, I hear the only decks that put 1/1 counters on creatures to make them unblockable are Kumena, Zagana, Ishai, Ezuri, Piran, Tuthi, Vorel, Noindar, Marchesa, Experiment Crash, Kaidel, Borash, Rolesk, Rayhan, Tuthi, Thrasios, Eutropia, Voreth, and Ludovic. So
just a couple.
It's kind of a trash card, but it's a couple bucks. It's going up. Yeah. This is a bulk rare, and now there's really just the Ixalan version and then a couple promos. It's a little tricky.
It was in the Explorers of Ixalan.
The board game?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Well, it's interesting how expensive the pre-release version of this card is. Actually quite pricey. It may be just a quirk of the algorithm, though.
It's $5 on...
No, it's actually sold out. The foils are sold out. It's $30 on TCG right now.
Jeez.
There you go. Herald of Secret Streams. That's on the pre-release foils.
Yeah, and the set foil is sold out at $5. So like, I don't. It's goofy.
It's certainly an interesting card. I mean, it kind of snuck up on people. Probably you're right in terms of being Commander relevant. It's that they're not being worth more than $1 for a very long time, and then as some decks started to realize that they could make really strong use of it, I did not know this would have been a breaking bulk to me. I didn't know this card was worth money. It's a good pick.
It's
in that sense, anyways.
Like $2 TCG player, $3 on channel Fireball, where you can fire all your channels and ball all your fire channels. Head to channelfireball.com to send them a box. You just put all your cards in a box. And you're like, I don't know how to buy list. Look at me. I'm just a person. I heard the phrase set, sort, and alphabetize on a podcast. I don't know what any of those words mean. I think set is a tennis term. I don't play tennis. Alphabetize is for children. I'm not a kid, so I'm not a tennis playing child. So how can I set, sort, and alphabetize? What I want to do is I want to take all my cards and I want to put them in boxes, and I want to put them in a larger box, and I want to put stamps on them, right? And then the U.S. Postal Service will take between 7 and 27 weeks to send them. Because otherwise people will be able to vote in an election. And 27 weeks later, when channelfireball.com, your place for all your fire and channel fire needs, opens the box, they will set, sort, and alphabetize because they know what those... They have tennis playing children in the back just ready to love, alphabetize my cards. They will alphabetize all the stuff for us and be like, here's the value of the cards you sent us, and you'll be like, that sounds correct to me, but really you'll be like, I don't know, I just put a bunch of stuff I didn't need in a box. And then they'll send me a big old check, or they'll give me store credit, and I will be like, send me some cards, and they will be like, we will get the tennis kids because we got, look, man, we got sweatbands on their head and their wrists for tennis, so it's not technically a sweatshop. So we'll have the kids just send you the cards you want. So all you need to do is just pack all the cards in a box and put them in a bigger box, put some stamps, and then wait till 2022 when someone else is president, probably, right? And then the post office will work as intended. Channel Fireball, send you your cards, send you, your money, whatever you want. Channel Fireball, your buy listing paradise, your fire channels and ball related needs are all met at channelfireball.com. They're our sponsor, and they are only charging a mere $3 for Harry of Secret Streams, as I like to call him. We're on a first name basis because I'm like, DJ, I put him in decks because me, I guess I like it when my creatures can't be blocked. Who knew that it was good to have unblockable creatures that get bigger as you proliferate? Whatever. Like, I'm a crazy lunatic who likes to attack with unblockable creatures and deal damage. So, in summation, sweatshop children, checks, bulk, money, unblockable creatures, channelfireball.com.
That was certainly a pitch, and for anyone...
Word for word, they sent us that. They're like, here's what you gotta read.
That's the ad read.
Did you notice I was reading off my computer screen? And I was like, this is the craziest shit I've ever... They're like, look, you read this word for word, or we're terminating our relationship with your podcast. I was like, whoa! Okay, I'll do whatever you say, Channel Fireball. You are our sponsor. We're proud to be sponsored by Channel Fireball, where you can go and... for as little as $0, basically, because you pay them money and they're like, here's store credit for the exact amount you gave us. And you're like, that was a weird transaction. You can have access to Channel Fireball Premium, where you can read all their articles and
CFB Pro.
CFB Pro. That's what they call it.
Even better.
So you can have that. You can give them an amount of money and they will just give almost all of it. How much do they give you back in store credit?
100%.
100%. Oh my god. So you just give them money and they give you all of it back, and then you just buy singles, including Herald of Secret Streams, which is very reasonably priced on channelfireball.com. And then when you're done, you're like, I'm a CFB Pro. Can I send you a box of unshuffled crap? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. That's our favorite. And then you just do that. So that's an option for you. Go ahead and do that and buy Herald of Secret Streams and put it in your decks, you idiot. Your creatures are unblockable. What's wrong with you?
There you go. That pitch will likely never be topped. But DJ, do you have a pick of the week?
I will set the scales back, I guess. I don't like to. I don't want to keep everyone waiting too long. So Darksteel Forge is under $10 right now, around $10. It was
that's a Double Masters thing, right?
It was in Double Masters, just like every other card in Magic.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, it was Mythic, not like every other card in Magic. So I do think Darksteel Forge has room to recover. I think it is one of those cards that we talked about earlier, where it just goes in so many decks. There's just always somebody looking to play artifacts, so there's always somebody looking to make them indestructible. Darksteel Forge always tended to float between 15 and 20 before this printing. I think this is one that gets soaked up pretty quick, and then people will buy enough copies, and then 6 months to a year from now, you'll be like, wait, I thought Darksteel Forge went to 10. No, it's back up to 17 now. So Darksteel Forge, specifically the Double Masters printing, just stay away from the Darksteel printing. They're always they're always just HP. It's not good.
And also just get the cheaper, like the new versions come out, they're always cheaper, and then in a year they're always the same price. So why buy the old ones when you can just get the new ones that in time, in a lot of cases, come to be more expensive anyways?
This has 4 printings. Corbin, Hostler, no Googling. Can you name all 4 printings of Darksteel Forge? Chronologically.
I can.
Darksteel.
Then?
Magic 2011?
No, not even close.
He was off by a bit. There was a 12? Printing. There was a printing between Darksteel and its core set printing.
Darksteel, Plane Chase, core set 2013.
Plane Chase was what I was going to guess. Yeah. What was the core set though? It's from
2014.
2014. Okay.
So Darksteel, Plane Chase 2012, core set 2014, and Double Masters.
Oh, it was in 2012.
No, really. Plane Chase was 2012.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got the year right on the reprint.
You sure did.
That's a lot of reprints, but I'm with DJ. Probably he's going to shrug them off.
Oh, well, because here's the thing. It's so easy for something that says all artifacts, which is like a fifth of all cards printed. It doesn't have to be a specific strategy that enables it. It's sort of like a deck that has a lot of artifacts. This will be good. So something like this, it's a little bit easier for a new card to make this go up on the basis of it being a good tandem with it. Just because all artifacts versus all creatures with 1/1 counters, or all rogues, or all goblins, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Versus all artifacts, and every EDH deck has 12 artifacts in it. So.
Yes, that is true. All right. Well, there you go, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Now, we might have seemed a little out of it this week. 1, that's because we recorded a lot of after hours during this episode. But 2, it's because we just got done streaming on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Brainstorm Brewery. If you can't afford to become a part of the Patreon, we totally understand. If you want to help us out, you can still go throw us a like on YouTube, a thumbs up, even a thumbs down if you want. You can, as Jason would say, click the bell icon, I believe is how he would phrase it, on the YouTube channel, and that would support us as well. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. This is Brainstorm Brewery. We'll see you next week. Whew. There's an episode in there. I can feel it.
Fire off all your ball channels.